This was talked about a long time ago, back in 2017, back in the Zuffa era. Dana White wanted to start Zuffa boxing. He didn't. No one really ever heard anything else about it. But Dana White's been very vocal about how boxing's degraded over the last 30 years, his experiences at the shows. And as a big promoter, you can see that that's got the wheels turning. And here we are today, Dana White, and the quote is, "I'm going to come in guns blazing." Apparently he has a plan. He's getting into the boxing world, which will be really, really interesting. Apparently he's building all of the infrastructure in Vegas at the PI. All of the boxers will have access to that PI. And, he didn't really speak as to what sort of fights we were going to get in that promotion or any real details necessarily. I think it would be the perfect way to solve these older guys who get out of contract with the UFC and then go and get knocked out by Jake Paul. It would be the perfect fix to that problem. You even saw more recently with Nate Diaz and Jorge Gamebred Masvidal fighting. They had a boxing match. Why don't you put that fight in in the UFC's boxing sort of promotion? All of the older guys who aren't really at that top level, all of those killers, who dominate in the divisions, they're all the young guys, these older strikers, the Uriah Halls, the Darren Tills, the guys you see who are going to get boxing fights, outside of the UFC, post-UFC contract. Bring them all in here. Then we have to talk about pay and salary, because obviously a massive reason these guys are, going elsewhere to take these boxing fights is because of the money they're making. Dana White, the UFC have a pretty dark history and are known to pay their fighters a lot less than they should be. They're currently, going through a $4.5 billion lawsuit because of that. With the new promotion starting up, is it going to be more of the same? You have to imagine they have a pretty nailed down business model. The cogs of the machine are going to keep turning. What does that look like? Dana White, I know, sponsors Callum Walsh, a young prospect, an Irish kid in boxing, and he sponsors him pretty closely, gives him a lot of exposure through the UFC's media machines. Is it going to be a place where a kid like that's going to come up? Is he going to be working with other promoters? He's spoken about his relationship with Eddie Hearn, the Warrens. Obviously, who he's not going to work with in the sport of boxing. But the thing about Dana White is the guy is absolutely stubborn. Once he gets an idea in his head and starts running with it, it's game over, for better or for worse. The guy's proven to, get some absolutely crazy things done with not a lot of time. This is something he's planned for a long time. He says he has an objective and a goal. We'll see what that is and if he's able to crack into that world, because the thing about boxing and all of these promoters and all of these governing bodies is there is a lot of corruption, and the people at the top have been there for a long time. So cracking into that sport is going to be really interesting, and I think Dana White's going to have a lot of people coming after him in that world, who don't want any extra competition, because the UFC is such a growing and evolving sport and business, and the amount of exposure that they're able to get and continue to grow with the young generation of people is going to be something really special if they can transition that over to the boxing world, because boxing, like I said, has been stuck in its ways for so long. Much older fan base, but there's some really, really young, exciting boxers. I feel like there's a new wave of engagement, and people are wanting to watch boxing. I know I'm, becoming a really big boxing fan just over the last couple of years. If we could see Dana White crack into that world and put on some really cool fights with the people he has under contract, and he's able to work with other promoters, then you may get to see some really cool crossover matchups like you did back in the day when Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather started that whole trend. So Dana White, let's see what he can do. It's proven the guy can absolutely get things done. So he's bringing a lot of money and a lot of momentum, and some pretty powerful people, some pretty powerful businesses that he has behind the UFC. And if he has the support of all those people, I think it can go a long way. And even Dana White, he had a little bit of skepticism, or maybe not skepticism, but I think his words were, "Let's see where this thing goes." So I don't even know if he knows exactly what it's going to look like yet, but huge news, very, very exciting. I think it's going to only grow the sport, grow the fan base of combat sports in general, which only makes the sport operate at a higher level. I'm super interested to see what he can do there. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe, and we'll chat soon.